they find hope and an opportunity with a company like Pride. And then we give them the confidence. We help them build their job skills and get them some work experience. And they can really take that anywhere they want after they've got their start. So that's really what we're trying to do is create those opportunities that are life-changing and give people hope where maybe in traditional employment settings they might be looked over.
Hi, I'm Jeff Holden. Welcome to the Nonprofit Podcast Network. Our purpose and passion is to highlight a nonprofit organization in each weekly episode, giving that organization an opportunity to tell their story in their words to better inform and educate the respective communities they serve, as well as provide one more tool for them to share their message to constituents and donors. Our goal is to help build stronger communities through shared voices and to both encourage and support the growth of local nonprofit organizations through podcasting. Thanks to our founding partners for their foresight in helping us transform the way conversations start. CapTrust, fiduciary advice for endowments and foundations. Runyon Saltzman Incorporated, RSE, marketing, advertising, and public relations creating integrated communications committed to improving lives. And Western Health Advantage, a full-service healthcare plan for individuals, employer groups, and families. We know the strength and quality of an organization can be determined by how it treats its employees, the culture, the mindset. And since this is a program about nonprofits, the mission, vision, and values of the organization as well. With inclusion at the forefront of many hiring decisions today, for an organization to have been building its foundation on that very premise, inclusion, over 57 years ago, speaks volumes. Nearly half of the 4,000 plus employees of our featured company in this episode have a disability of one type or another. The president and CEO of this organization, one of the top 50th fastest growing companies as recognized by the Sacramento Business Journal in 2024, has been with the company for the past 16 years, most recently as Chief Financial Officer. He became president in 2018 and has clearly been focused on the task at hand, growing the employment opportunities for those with disabilities. He's a graduate of Sac State and is also involved on various boards, including the California Chamber of Commerce and the Greater Sacramento Area Economic Council. It's an honor to have Jeff Dern in the studio to share with us the incredible contributions Pride Industry is making to both our community and creating jobs for those with barriers of entry to gainful employment. What Pride is doing is nothing short of miraculous. Jeff Dern, welcome to the Nonprofit Podcast Network.
Thanks, Jeff. So great to be here with you.
And we are so excited to get into this conversation. I just can't wait. Pride is no newcomer to the nonprofit scene. You've been in the region now for pushing 60 years. It's an incredibly tenured organization. It's one that's not only survived, but gone way beyond thriving. Would you give us just a brief history from its origins in that little church in Roseville?
Sure. Brief as in we got an hour here, right? So, okay.
We got a lot more questions.
All right. All right. We'll squeeze in a few more questions.
Perfect.
I mean, Pride has such a storied history in this area. You know, founded in Placer County in Auburn, California at St. Luke's Church, which is still there today, just down the street from Placer High School. A group of parents with young adult children with disabilities wanted to create an opportunity for them to connect with their community in a meaningful way, to gain greater independence through work, through employment. So they created Pride Industries. It was a grassroots organization for many years. And as such, it was predicated on fundraising to create these jobs. It made ceramic ashtrays and wind chimes and other arts and crafts type things, and that was the origins of our business. Fast forward to 1983, when Mike Ziegler came to town and was introduced to Pride, brought on to do some business development because the board of directors wanted to convert this grassroots organization into a social enterprise to create real contracts and create real jobs with sustainable employment. So Mike had been a very successful business person, came to town, met Pride, and it was very infectious for him. When he would sell work and bring it back, he was a hero. I mean, he was literally being cheered on, and he knew that the employees at Pride could do the work. And it was just a matter of building those customer relationships and earning the contract and the confidence with those customers. So that was our early roots, all the way up to 1983. Mike started building the business. One of our early customers was Hewlett-Packard. A very difficult customer to come by nowadays. We've been working with Hewlett-Packard for about 30 years. And so we can get into the different businesses as we go
And I'm
here.
excited to touch on that in just a few minutes.
Just the social enterprise concept, that was really what the board and Mike brought to life at Pride. And it's been nonstop ever since, just growing.
That little church pre-Mike went to a mega church post-Mike, just by the presence of not only Ziegler, but what he did with the organization to get it to where it is today in terms of its perception, its contracts, its awareness. And the core tenets of the organization, I know those have never changed, but so much more has happened that it's mind-boggling even for me after you go to that website and see all the things that you do, all the things that you're engaged in. It's complex, it's complicated. It is a huge, huge entity. How would you characterize today the mission, vision, values, purpose of the organization?
Yeah, today it's very identical to how we were founded. Now, we affect the mission a little bit differently, but the mission has always been to create employment for people with disabilities. People with disabilities don't have always the same access to employment or the training, pre-employment skill development, and so that's what we're all about. We've always have been. It's been our true north. So from running our businesses to creating employment opportunities for people with disabilities at other organizations, our mission's fulfilled either way, and that's the most exciting thing to all of us. Is we love to grow our payroll and expand our operations to prove that model works. But if we're helping another organization become more inclusive of people with disabilities, then we're still very successful, and we can expand and create more opportunity for a lot more people that way. The values of the organization always been about teamwork and innovation. We're very entrepreneurial. Mike really injected that entrepreneurial spirit into the organization, and even since Mike's passing in 2020, we've continued that legacy of growing and thinking entrepreneurially about our businesses. And then we're very tenacious, right? One of our core values is tenacity. We know how to solve problems, and we won't give up until we solve that problem. And oftentimes the problem is, how do we create more access, more training opportunity, more entry points for people with disabilities into the workforce? The vision, that's really simple and clear. It's to create access for people of all abilities to achieve their employment goals. And we really live that out, as you saw on Monday.
It was amazing. That tour, I'm speechless on some of it. Just what I saw and the size and the girth, which we're going to touch on in just a second. In terms of looking at your annual report, which is something I was prepping with, the number of programs you mentioned on the mission and vision and the values all still doing what they started in 57, 60 years ago, to continue those into the number of programs that you've now got. We take the rest of the episode. I mean, it's so deep in terms of the contributions you make to the people with disabilities and the organizations that support them. If you had to distill it down to just last year, what would you say might be the most significant accomplishments?
Yeah, well, thanks for, you've seen the innovation with your own eyes when you visited. Mm-hmm. And by the way, I still get goosebumps when I walk through our factory or any of our work sites across the country. We're in 16 states, and it's consistent. The culture of inclusion is so consistent. So over the past year, we continue to try to expand our reach and reach new parts of the population to make sure they know about our services. One of the things we're doing that's really exciting is a cybersecurity training program. Right, we're trying to create careers in high-tech cyberspace, and these are careers that can launch at over $80,000 a year annual salary. I mean, what incredible job opportunities, and oftentimes people with disabilities just don't know how to access that training. So we've created a training program. We're going to be piloting it this year and then expanding it from there. So that's super exciting.
And that's why all the security, I would imagine, when we come in, it's like Fort Knox. You're coming into the organization. I got to get this badge. I got to get my picture taken. I got to sign a sheet.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just coming to Pride. What is the deal?
Well, and that's another thing we just added in the last year, separate from the cybersecurity actually, but it's another security feature. Right, is our ITAR and military aerospace industry expertise and qualifications. So we're taking our little manufacturing plant right here in Roseville, California. That's where our headquarters building is. We've done medical device manufacturing, video display, all kinds of different types of electronics manufacturing. And now we're really launching into the military aerospace defense world, which is a huge market.
Right.
And so we expect to grow. So what you experienced was our ITAR compliance, international trafficking, and arms and munitions. It sounds like a scary thing.
Yeah.
But working with our defense partners, that's a must-have bar to clear in order to work with them.
And I would imagine just because they don't want anything being copied, photographed, whatever it is, as they're walking through the plant.
Yeah, lots of classified and confidential type information. So you have to demonstrate you have the physical security and in your computer systems and workflows. So
it's just so neat. And it also makes you feel kind of special,
right,
as you're coming in.
It's a really cool space to be in.
Yes. You gave us the tour earlier this week, and I don't think most people comprehend the magnitude of the size of just that facility, but that's 180,000 square feet. That is a huge, huge facility. It's probably commensurate to some of the largest grocery stores, if you can comprehend that, or a big Walmart or something. But that's not the biggest plant. You have another 300, almost double that, somewhere else in Roseville for Hewlett-Packard. We're going to play some of the audio that we got from that tour, and I'd like just to listen for a second.
You've been here for 11 years?
Yeah.
You must like it.
Oh, yeah.
And what do you do, Cameron?
I did some packaging, and I also did the labels.
Okay.
You know, the labels are called the serial numbers.
So, if I need to know where something is or what it is, I can thank you for putting the label on it.
Oh, yeah, it's really a good thing. And see here, these are what...
Oh, yeah. So those are June of 2024, huh?
Yep. And this is where they scanned them.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's an important job.
Yes, it is.
Well, thank you.
So Lemuel, what are you working on here?
Right now I'm actually doing some inspection on this just to be sure that, we're trying to get this machine working right. So that's like one of the main things that we do here in this work cell. And
So you're like the guy that makes it perfect.
pretty much. Yeah, so I'm not only that, I'm one of the two people that assembles these machines here too. And if there's any error codes that pops up, then I usually do what I can on my end to figure out what the problem is, and then whatever the problem is, I do what I can to fix it.
Good for you. Thank you for doing that. And how long have you been with Pride?
I've been here since February 2011, or not 2011, but 2013.
What is it that makes Pride so unique in the employment of those people with disabilities?
Well, like you said, expanding the business is amazing, but Pride's culture of inclusion, every new employee at Pride Industries gets disability inclusion training. Right?
Wow.
I want to teach them, okay, how do people with different disabilities interact with you? How do they learn? How do we learn about their lived experiences? So we try to help our new employees walk in their shoes. And our new employees include people with and without disabilities, but we're fully looking at disability inclusion training across the board. Then our managers and supervisors get additional training. So that's really special when you think about wanting to belong in your workplace. And when an organization really embraces that knowledge and continuous improvement in the culture to be more inclusive, it's really amazing what can happen. So we bring people into our workforce that other companies haven't either attempted to employ or didn't know how to exactly interact and help that person be successful. The next thing we do besides that culture of inclusion and training, we put it to practice. Somebody with a disability may just need an accommodation to help them do their work better. What we find is when we create that reasonable accommodation for our employees, actually that non-disabled part of our workforce benefits too. It's really about innovating, right? If we think about creating a better workflow, a better process, a better way of training on a particular job, everybody benefits from that. And so it's just knowing that people with disabilities can do anything. It really matters that they work in a place where they can bring their full self to the job and know that they're being proactively supported to be successful.
What I noticed, shockingly so, is as I approach them, somebody would tell me their name and I go to say hello. The the kindness almost, the welcoming of me with a microphone in their face, which could be awkward or inconvenient or, frightening to some. And every one of them, a handshake, the eye contact, the comments, and I don't think I talked to anybody that was there any term less than 13 years, which is amazing, to think about. Not to mention, I wasn't sure if I was approaching somebody with a disability or not. I wouldn't have known, until we got into the conversation a little bit. And I have to laugh. You heard Lemuel on the audio that we played, but I didn't play all of it because he has a joke of the day.
He has a joke of the day.
Which everybody around him waits for the joke of the day from Lemuel.
Yes.
And I thought that was just so cute and how normal that is in a workplace environment, and to give people with disabilities that same semblance of what everybody else has.
Yeah, they're absolutely an equal part of our team, and many of our employees are joyful. Some of our employees with disabilities bring a true joy to the job. They're just so excited to be there, so thankful that they have a place where they truly belong, and they know the people around them care about them and are helping them be successful. Lemuel has that joke of the day. It's something we do at Pride. We have the kind of corny dad joke kind of thing going.
It was.
And so he's embraced it. And every time I see him in the hallway, say hi. He said, "You want to hear the joke of the day?" Yes, I do.
Yes, of course you do. Of course you do. 4,500 employees, give or take, of which about 2,000 are employees with disabilities. It's a mind-boggling number just in and of itself. But it's also $460 million, give or take, in revenue that passes through the organization, at least in 2023. How is the revenue generated, Jeff? What do you do that allows you to get to such a prolific amount? I mean, you're one of the biggest businesses in our region.
It's pretty amazing. We've consistently grown year after year. The revenues are contractual-based revenues. We're providing valued services to our customers in the facility management space, logistics, electronics manufacturing, and those businesses in themselves have different disciplines, different service lines. We do packaging fulfillment within our logistics, right? We also move product around the world for companies like Hewlett-Packard. And we have these very sophisticated operational capabilities. The facility maintenance side of our business, we're in the federal, state, and local government space. We have industry partners out there in the private industry world, public companies we work with. There's really no bounds to what we can actually achieve. And when companies work with us, they get that little extra something. They know we're competitive. We're going to deliver high quality, great customer service. And they also know that they're impacting their community in a positive way when they work with us, because as you mentioned, we're about 50% of our workforce are people with disabilities. So I somewhat kiddingly say we're the Paul Newman's brand on the shelf, right? Because you've got different choices of salad dressing out there in the world, and don't you want to buy the one that actually gives back and does good in the world? And I think we're better than the Paul Newman's brand, right? Because we're changing people's lives. When we employ somebody with disability or help them find a job at another organization, we've just completely changed the trajectory of their life. The independence they gain, the confidence they gain. It's not just about the paycheck. It's about how they now are empowered to really achieve their goals because they have a place where they belong. And when you think about impacting that individual, you're also impacting the family. I mean, just think about that exponential impact. And if we're impacting families, we're impacting the community in a positive way. So really everybody wins when you partner with Pride, whether it's to hire, contract for labor or hire individuals with disabilities, or you contract with us for your service needs. And our goal is to make sure every customer has the best experience possible, that we're alongside them as an advisor in a consultative fashion, helping them solve for their needs that help them make their business run better.
And it does go beyond just the employment part of it. You help with housing, with transportation, with every aspect of that individual's need, whatever it may be, to get to work.
Right. We look at complementary services. While we're not in residential as of now, we know residential partners and we interact with them frequently. We do have the transportation. We also provide training on living skills. How do you make sure you're able to cook for yourself, your personal hygiene, balancing your checkbook, your finances? how you navigate the world outside of where you live, whether it's transportation or commuting on a bus, walking. We help people with these different life skills, and we believe that's fundamental to success on the job, that you can take care of yourself outside of work as well.
Let's see, cooking, balancing the checkbook. I can sit through one of those
Do a
classes
couple
too,
of those?
right?
Yeah, we got a class for you.
You touched on collaboration. You kind of just went there, but let's talk a little bit more about that, because one of the things that we look at through the network is how do organizations collaborate with each other? And you, as this huge platform that we're so benefited by sitting in our region, certainly touches a lot of the other organizations. Just to name a few, who do you really work a lot with?
Well, we work with anybody that is working with a population of people that face barriers to employment, and that can be foster youth, right? That can be trafficking survivors. So 3 strands. We have a partnership with them over the years. It could be disabled veterans. So Volunteers of America does amazing work with veterans. Sometimes we have people that will cross over there. So just to name a few, but there's a lot of nonprofit organizations out there helping people. And when it comes to the employment aspect of their journey, they oftentimes will know to call Pride and say, hey, now, in addition to those nonprofit organizations in the community, we have government partners that really make what we do go. And that would be the Department of Rehabilitation, the Alta Regional Center, which serves the Sacramento region. That's through the Department of Developmental Services. So there's these wonderful services offered in the state of California and other states through these government agencies, and they refer people to us. They're assessing the needs, and not only Pride, but other organizations that provide similar services. But we have these deep, very rich partnerships with those agencies, and it really connects the dots to get people the services they need.
I have to share the story because you're standing at the doorway as we're talking when you came in, and one of the people in our building walks in, sees Pride, and says, "Oh, I'm looking at the organization for my son." I have another gentleman that works here who has also looked at Pride for his son. So you're just out of 3 people in our office right here, 2 of them have considered
Amazing.
Pride for their children, which it really is amazing to think. We don't know what people's issues are, and we don't know where they are with their children and or other family members. But to know that there's an organization here that services and can help, and not only does it on its own, but collaborates with so many different organizations that might be the feeder to a job, which just changes everything once people gain that confidence and learn a skill and feel comfortable and cared for and wanted, is so huge.
Yeah, there's so much word of mouth really matters. And, Kat, who's here in the studio with us, Kat Madru, the senior director of public relations for Pride, she does such a fantastic job working with our media partners like yourself and making sure we can get the word out, because it really is just, if someone hasn't heard of Pride Industries and the services we provide, they may not know that there's hope for their situation or their family member situation, that, a lot of youngsters growing up with disabilities, and what's going to happen once they, surpass the school age years, right? What's next? And so we offer that great hope that there's a world out there that really embraces each individual where they are, helps them with setting their own goals that are right for them personally, not somebody else's goals that are set for them. And then how do we take those steps toward greater independence, take those steps toward, a paycheck and a job and a place where you can work and call home for years to come.
And that's what so many of us are looking for on the outside in. We see these unfortunate situations of homelessness and job loss, when in fact what Pride's doing is preventing that, because it's possible that some of the people that are working for you could just as well be on the street in a really unfortunate situation, yet they've had the good grace to have found Pride.
Everybody needs a job and a home, right?
Yep.
Needs somehow to support yourself. And so it's true. If someone slips through the cracks and the safety net doesn't catch them, a job means the world to people who, oftentimes have a hard time getting through the interview, right? So we want to make sure they not only get through the interview successfully, that takes building their skills, but also it also takes broader awareness from the employment community. Like, okay, there's individuals out there that may not present the same as my traditional hires, but they're going to do a really great job for us, maybe even better than the next person. And we need to make space for that.
I'm going to give you just a real quick shout out. You said Kat, and it's an unusual name. Most people may think, well, Kat, I knew a Kat Madru. She was a radio host on radio stations in the community for so long, and that is the same Kat Madru who is sitting here, who has now gone from broadcast radio into, a social enterprise cause, which is very neat. And I haven't seen her in many years, so Kat, it was great to see you come in. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that Pride Industries is truly one of the first social enterprise organizations, and you mentioned that a little bit earlier. You're emerging one of the largest and most efficient of its kind almost 60 years ago to today, and now it's a phrase, this social entrepreneurship, social enterprise. We get lost many times in the tax status of an organization. It's a 501c3 or if it's for-profit. It's no different. And the significance of those, a $460 million nonprofit or a $460 million for-profit business are one and the same. Their outcome can be very, very different, and their purposes can be very, very different. But they're both huge. When you're competing for a bid, how do you position Pride Industries versus a for-profit company that may be vying for the same opportunity?
Yeah, and I want to answer that question, but I also want to say there is one big difference, and that is as a nonprofit, a 501c3, we do have that tax status. That is allow us to reinvest capital into the mission, right? So there's no private ownership in our organization. So it actually becomes harder to grow the business organically versus taking investment dollars from investors. So it's a little bit different model, but when we go compete, it's very much on par, like you said, with how a for-profit competes. However, we do champion that when you work with us, you're going to have a deeper social impact because of the way we create employment for people with disabilities. But we're going on quality. We're going on price. We're going on what have we done lately for our other customers that we serve in those industries.
Right.
And what are our qualifications and what are our references? And so we have to build the business very similarly in that sense to a for-profit. And then we're not shy to share the impact that we have on the community by the jobs that we create and the training programs we operate.
You mentioned when we were on tour, and Kat had mentioned even today, just some of the stories of the people that are working for Pride. A blind and deaf facilities person in Arkansas. It's just amazing. Give me some examples of some of the people that you've seen that you would think there's no way, yet here they are not only employed but gainfully employed and independent and earning a living.
Yeah, two really great examples. One is more recent. Brandon, who's an employee on a contract we have with the federal government, U.S. Immigration and Citizenship Services. We help process visas for the U.S. government. And Brandon came in. We've had this contract for a couple of years. We did a new employee orientation, welcoming our new employees. And his parents were there to kind of witness this event and participate in it. And they were in tears. Their adult son, who had never had a job like this, pays really well, has great benefits. And now he's going to be gainfully employed. And now he has the opportunity. That door's been, open for him in a way that hadn't been in that way in his life up till now. And not only did he get the opportunity, but he's hitting it out of the park. I mean, he's our highest producer on this contract. And it's just for the past year, for the past quarter. So we get to go out there and share awards with our employees. And we were at a site visit, visited Brandon and the team. And he was just grinning ear to ear. He's just so thankful to be part of something where he gets to go to work and, have that independence. But yet he's also appreciated and rewarded for such a great job. Another quick example is a young man named Anthony who came to one of our janitorial contracts, and his first entry-level job, he had applied it, as he would say in his own words, hundreds of jobs, McDonald's and Walmart and you name it. He couldn't get through the interview process. He's an individual with autism. Got to start with us. within a couple of years, he was already a lead. And then one time when I was out at the site, he says, "Hey, I want to let you know, I just bought my first house."
What? What?
And I was astonished. I'm like, "Wow, that's amazing, Anthony. Congratulations," And so there's just all of these different stories. We have people with chronic illnesses. We have people with PTSD. We have people that have had addictions. They find hope and an opportunity with a company like Pride. And then we give them the confidence. We help them build their job skills and get them some history there, some work experience. And they can really take that anywhere they want after they've got their start. So that's really what we're trying to do is create those opportunities that are life-changing and give people hope where maybe in traditional employment settings they might be looked over.
That's amazing to think that the program has generated so much community change, and the fact that we need to accept and look at these ways to do things differently. I mean, we hear the complaints of unaffordable housing from, college graduates with master's degrees, doctorate degrees. Yet here's somebody who is just doing all the right things and has done all the right things to get himself in a position where he can afford to buy a house. So,
and sometimes you have multiple degrees and multiple master's degrees or a doctorate degree. And if you have a disability that significantly impacts your ability to communicate, concentrate, learn on-the-job skills, you can be very accomplished as a student and still not find your place in the workforce. And you just need support. You need to have a company like Pride that come alongside you, kind of understand what your disability and what your challenges are, and help you navigate that employment world till you have sustainable success. So it's very possible, and many people don't realize that there's that kind of support out there.
Yeah, I think that's important that we do talk just a little bit about that, as you did, to know that this is not just for the people who have what we would consider the obvious disabilities. There are so many people who are accomplished in different ways that just can't get themselves into the workforce for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And that disability that may be causing that can really be supported by Pride.
Yeah, disability takes all forms. There's disabilities, as you mentioned, they're very apparent. That's kind of the language we use is you can tell there's a disability visually. And sometimes it's non-apparent. You really can't detect it. A learning disability, such as, or even like dyslexia, you may not see it. Somebody may have epilepsy. It's not always obvious until they have a seizure. Right. There's also permanent and temporary disabilities. If you had a knee replacement, you're temporarily disabled. You don't have your mobility. Right. But there are permanent disabilities as well. And so we're looking at how do we break down the barriers to that person getting into a job that's a good fit for them. Right. We do look at fit. We look at potential and evaluate skills, and then we put plans in place for growing those skills and setting goals, which is commonplace for any employee.
Right.
No different for somebody with a disability. They just may need a little extra support on the front end or along the way. So whatever that level of support is that somebody needs, that's our job, is to come alongside, identify what that support looks like, help the employer. Sometimes that's our management. Sometimes that's another organization's managers. Help them understand how to make that work.
And I would imagine the discipline inside Pride as you go through any of the programs is probably greater than many other businesses, just by nature of the people that you're dealing with. So, no, you don't get to slack off. And no, that's not okay. You have to do this way.
Oh yeah, you gotta come back from break on time and lunch. You don't get a pass on that, right? We have the performance and measurement process that every company has. So yeah, it's not about a break in that sense. It's about giving somebody a hand up, right? Not a hand out. It's helping them become able to be self-sufficient and independent.
From independence to integration, we're speaking with Jeff Dern of Pride Industries, and we'll be back with more right after this. I was in the media business for over 35 years and had the great privilege of working with Runyon Saltzman, RSE, Marketing, Advertising, and Public Relations. We collaborated on many different campaigns, but their commitment to the nonprofit sector hasn't changed since their founder, Gene Runyon, started the agency. Over many years and many campaigns, Runyon Saltzman has been committed to improving lives by tackling California's most challenging issues: Guided by research-informed strategies and insightful, creative solutions, RSE develops innovative communications campaigns that raise awareness, educate, and reduce stigma in diverse communities throughout our state and beyond. To learn more about RSE, visit rs-e.com.
Hello, this is Scott Thomas with Cap Trust in our Sacramento office. I specialize in working with local nonprofits and associations. Annually, we survey private and public nonprofit organizations across the country to better understand challenges they see in today's environment. In our more recent survey, we heard concerns about proper board governance, mission-aligned investment, and how to implement alternative investments. If you would like a copy of the survey or to discuss your organization, look me up, Scott Thomas at captrust.com.
I'm thrilled to have Western Health Advantage partnering with us as they do so much to support so many nonprofit agencies in our community. As a truly local health plan, you'll find individual and family options, employer options, plans for CalPERS and Medicare Advantage. From medical services to pharmacy, health and wellness support, as well as behavioral health care, Western Health Advantage has a plan that fits what you need. As an employer, for profit or nonprofit business, individual or family, you can find more at westernhealth.com. We didn't talk about something that we did address early on in our conversation when we were there earlier this week, and that was the process, the method, from siloing to integrative, integrative, whatever the proper pronunciation is. Will you address that just a little bit? The old school way it used to be done to the way it's being done today at Pride.
Yeah, well, in the past, disability employment often looked like people with disabilities coming to one work location and being part of a program that was a training type program, oftentimes being paid sub-minimum wage. And so the transition has been to not accepting that as the best we can do, but that we want people with disabilities to be integrated out in the community, working alongside people without disabilities. So it's the change from a congregate sheltered workshop setting to a competitive integrated employment setting. For Pride's part in that transition, we did eliminate the sub-minimum wage pay practices many years ago. And we did that because we wanted to create better programs for individuals that may have a really high support need, or working, a full-time schedule, even a heavy part-time schedule may not be the best thing for their development.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted it to be able to help those individuals with more innovative programming that was focused on them being part of their community and learning new skills and becoming more independent in their life overall. Now, oftentimes, work is a part of that program, but not always. And so we made that shift. When you go through our facilities now, you'll see a much more integrated work setting. And I think that's a positive thing. And for families that I've spoken to, they've often, when posed with the choice, would you like your son or daughter to work in a shelter workshop for, a decade or 2 or 3 and do the same kind of thing for that whole time period? Or would you prefer they be in a program where they're going to continually develop and have goals and achieve those goals and advance in their overall level of independence? And hopefully that includes work, but it may not always. Usually they choose the latter.
Yeah. Well, and they get to grow in their career position as well. Just as they progress and excel at something that they're doing, they get to move up that next notch, and just like everybody else. Whereas if they're in a housed situation, it almost becomes rote. You're doing the same thing over and over and over for how long?
Yeah. In both scenarios, you have a safe and supportive, a very positive environment.
Right.
But again, the motive is for us as a company, we want to help somebody achieve greater independence, and we want to do that on a progressive way where the supports are there. Everybody goes at a different pace. It's very person-centered. It's individualized support services. But we do want to know where that person is today, help them set the goals for tomorrow, and show progress in developing to live their best life. That's our goal.
Yeah. Well, and there's certainly levels of capacity and capability of any individual. Any
Everybody.
of us. Any of us.
Every single person on the planet needs support.
It's called Peter Principle.
You need support. You need opportunity. For some, there's greater barriers to entry and
Right.
to accessing those opportunities. So we're really about breaking down those barriers and creating opportunities for success.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to make sure we got out. Every year in October, you host an incredibly impressive job fair. What's that all about? What's it look like?
Well, Kat's jumping out of her seat. She knocked this one out of the park, right? Thanks to Kat, she really led the charge. It was a large number of team members on Pride's team last year that launched our first annual I Am Able Disability Job Fair. What that's about, we're about to have our second annual, as you just mentioned, in October, on October 9th at the Safe Credit Union Convention Center. So we have a bigger venue than the first year because we're growing it. And we have more employers coming. We have more people with disabilities expected to come. It's a job fair that's created by people with disabilities for people with disabilities. It's the most amazing thing because it's very inclusive. It's very accessible. Last year we expected, I think, about 200 or 300 people. We ended up with over 600 people attending.
Oh, wow.
Right. Now, thanks again to our media partners. They help us get the word out.
Mm-hmm.
And so there'll be a lot of opportunities for people to learn about this job fair as we go forward. For the employers, though, I just want to highlight they get some free access to our training services through a webinar, and they get to learn about disability inclusion, what it means to be a disability inclusive employer, how to go through the hiring process, applicant process. So we distill all of those best practices down for them. So when they come to the job fair, they're fully ready to engage this community. That these amazing people come with excitement in their eyes, and they know that I talked to several people at the first job fair, and it was, what does this mean to you to be here today? Well, I came here knowing that this was designed for me, so I'm going to get a chance to talk to every employer I want to talk to. I'm not at the back of the line trying to squeeze my way to the front.
Yeah.
I'm actually seen, I'm welcomed, and I'm being engaged actively by these employers who want to meet me and want to know how I can possibly help their company.
Mm-hmm. What a neat concept. All the way around, the full 360 of it all is just, it's so engaging in every way with everything you do.
It's exciting. It was exciting in the first year. It was kind of like a surreal experience. Like, this is really happening. And so many people there, and the employers were just wonderful. So it's a great opportunity for employers to say, hey, I'm here supporting this, and I believe in inclusive hiring, and we're going to open up our talent funnel to a greater number of applicants. At Pride, we have about 10 applicants for every opening, and that's a phenomenal number.
Oh, wow. I had no idea it was that huge.
Our talent funnel is very wide because we're accessing parts of the population that at other companies may not get the shot. But these inclusive-minded employers that come to this job fair, we couldn't do it without them. They come and they're really excited to engage this community of people with various disabilities and know that they have great abilities they can be adding positively to their work culture.
Well, maybe pick up that other 90% that you can't absorb.
Yeah,
which we hope.
Yeah,
knock on
lots of candidates out there.
Something here.
Statistically, over 70% of people with a disability are not employed today. That's nationwide. That's a staggering statistic. That's more than double the rate for people without disabilities. And there's millions and millions of people with a variety of different disabilities, different abilities out there that want to work, and they really just need to find an employer that understands how to meet them where they are and help them become part of their team.
We're doing good on time, so I'm going to ask you another question that we didn't prep, but you have an answer.
Yeah.
If money were no object, what would Pride look like today?
Meaning, if we had an unlimited supply of capital to build? Okay.
Yeah, you didn't have to worry about your salespeople going out and selling and making sure that they got everything done that's so you could fuel all the responsibilities that you have on contract.
Well, first of all, that would be an amazing world to be in,
yes,
for real, right?
Yes, it would.
What would we look like? Well, we're at 4,000 employees. I think what we'd look like is we'd be able to access the funds in that world to create so many more meaningful training programs, like the cybersecurity training program that we're doing. We have a litany of ideas of where we can help increase disability inclusion in different types of jobs. It's the old adage of scarcity of resources.
Yes.
So we dream big, and we prioritize those opportunities based on our ability to fund them. We do have a foundation called the Michael Ziegler Pride Industries Foundation. People can give to that foundation. It funds our helpline, our I am Able helpline, where anybody can call and get free access to resources and services that we refer them to.
Okay.
We have our training programs, and we have oftentimes a need for funding that, unfortunately, the government sources of funding don't fully cover all of the operating expenses to run some of our employment programs. So that's why that foundation is there to fund the gap.
Backfill a little bit.
Yeah, every single dollar that goes into our foundation goes to supporting somebody with disability, as Pride Industries funds the administrative expenses of our operating entities. So,
Which is something few organizations can say, that 100% of it goes back in.
100%.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Back to reality, if you look at the organization today, what would you say the greatest need is as you look at where we are today and what's going to be necessary in the future?
I think it's really centered around this notion of educating and advocating about what disability inclusion looks like. For those that are not familiar with a person in their life that has a disability or what their journey looks like, it's just an amazing thing when people have a son or daughter or family member with disability. They just instantly get it. And for those of us that maybe haven't had that experience, it takes a little bit more proximity to the cause. So what Pride could become is unlimited. Like I said, over 70% of people with disabilities don't have a job today. There's just so many people that need access to work and would be great employees, but it takes the employers to understand how to engage them, how to employ them successfully. And in some cases, that means a company like Pride needs to be engaged as well to help support that journey. So I think that's the biggest thing for us as we look forward, is we can keep building our businesses, and we will, through great customer service and delivery on our promises, through our social impact. But the more employers that really take an interest and actively say, this is something that we need to really study and include, they're going to have higher revenues, higher profits, higher productivity and retention. These are all things that have been studied and are proven. When you include people with disabilities in your workforce, there's huge business benefits. And so we want to help companies and leaders understand just, it's not difficult. It just takes some active attention and intentional behavior shifts within the culture, and you open up all these doors to these amazing employees.
And I think that's the key word right there, intentional. Intentionally looking at it and moving that stigma of disability to just acceptance, because we all have a strength and we all have a capability, and there's a fit for almost everybody someplace, as long as we dismiss that stigma. And I think that's what you're doing such a good job of, because of the depth of employment that footprint of Pride leaves, and people realize, oh, well, that was a Pride employee.
Well, we prove every day. I mean, you can't look at the scale of our operations and say that disability inclusion doesn't work. I mean, it's
absolutely
proven
correct.
every day. We're competing for contracts. We're building new relationships every day. And, we can't thank our partners enough, because it takes those other organizations that understand the need and put wind in our sails, and those amazing organizations where the values align with what Pride's trying to accomplish in the world. It's pretty magical. And we see more and more of that building. So that's why I focused on that point, is the more leaders and organizations that continue to embrace inclusion of people with disabilities in the workforce, sky's the limit for Pride.
And I'm sure you can see that in the organizations that show up for the job fair. They're making a statement just by the fact that they're there. And that will continue to grow over time to a larger and larger, event that you host, because people are saying, okay, if so-and-so can do it, well, certainly we can. Or if so-and-so is doing it and getting, a better perception in the community because of their involvement and depth in the community, then shoot, we're not as competitive. We need to move in that direction. And then when they do, they realize what took us so long.
It's pretty awesome to see. It really is.
Well, there's no equal to what you're doing for the disabled in our community, whatever that disability is, and all those other regions. What you said, 16 states?
Yep, all the way across the country, East Coast, West Coast, South. we're all over the place.
Well, and while we can get lost in the girth of the company, which it is a big company, we need to remember that more money means more jobs for those with disabilities, more influence in our communities, a better, more sound community because we have less people in vulnerable situations. And I want to see it become $1 billion company. That's we're halfway there, right?
We're going to make it, and it's as much as that is a measure of success. We're always about the number of people's lives that we're impacting. So we measure that too, right?
Well, that means
double bottom line.
I would say with the efficiencies that come from going from $500 million to $1 billion, if this was X number of people with disabilities, this will be X plus, from an efficiency standpoint, because you'll figure out so many more things as you get to that level. Thank you so much for your generosity in giving us the time, both on Monday to walk through the facility as well as today. And it's been an amazing discussion. It's what the business and the community looks like when we do things with purpose and intent, as we mentioned, that intentionality. So, Jeff, thank you again, and congratulations to you and the entire Pride staff and employees in terms of what you're doing.
Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, it's been a pleasure getting to know you, and this has been a lot of fun. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If what you heard moved you, please reach out to that organization and do what you can to help. If you like and appreciate what we're doing to support local nonprofits, please give us a positive review, subscribe, and share. If you're a nonprofit with an interest in participating in an episode, you can reach me at jeff@hearmenowstudio.com. If you have a need for the services or products our sponsors offer, please reach out to them. CapTrust, fiduciary advice for endowments and foundations, Runyon Saltzman Incorporated, RSE, marketing, advertising, and public relations, creating integrated communications committed to improving lives, and Western Health Advantage, a full-service healthcare plan for individuals, employer groups, and families. The Nonprofit Podcast Network is a production of, is recorded at, and edited by Hear Me Now Studio.